Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease until her passing. In her memory, we started Together for Sharon.com to continue to raise awareness and advocate toward a cure for all those still battling Parkinson's today and their families because no one should ever feel alone in this fight for a cure. Today's many special guests mean a lot to me. Some of them might not know that, but now they will. I want to introduce Steve, though he's been someone I've not only had the honor to meet several times, but somebody I feel is just an honor to advocate right by his side. And we got lucky in South Florida to spend a lot of time in the sun together. So he also got a suntan, met his beautiful wife and family. And today I actually met one of his other sons. We sent our love to him, but today's a special show because we have a family experience here. If I had the copyright as a lawyer, I'd play We Are Family in the Sledgehammer song, but we're not going to do that and save you all your trouble with your ears later for me. So I just wanted to welcome everyone to the show, our listeners, and maybe we could go around the room. Steve, if you want to start just telling everyone a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, George. Really happy to be here. I was diagnosed about 7 years ago. And just really the short story is for the first couple of years, I probably took a little bit more of a passive approach and then really got very proactive about addressing the Parkinson's, trying to do everything I could. I feel very lucky. I'm 7 years in and I have my main symptom is still a tremor. I am on meds, but not that I take a low dose 3 times a day. I don't really experience off time. And really, long story short, a friend of mine kept telling me that, hey, the way you approach this, your Parkinson's is pretty interesting. You've ever thought about writing a book? And it took him about 3 or 4 times to convince me, but he finally convinced me and I put it down in writing. And my goal is just to try to offer it as advice to as many people as possible. And it's not a medical book, it's just ways to take charge of your journey.
I appreciate it. It's an honor to have you here. And one thing I think is so important is family. I have 3 kids, and you just got me beat there with four, and just honor to have them here. So let's go to Zach or Jake. Welcome to the show.
I'll start off here. Yeah. So I'm Zach, obviously one of the sons joining here. Also met you, George, in Florida, which was so nice to see you again. Yeah, just been great to see my dad and his battle throughout this, and the way that he was able to learn about Parkinson's and then get all of his learnings into a book, share that with everybody else, and then just be along for the journey throughout it all. So it's happy to be here and excited to talk about all that.
Thanks, Zach. Welcome, Jake, too.
Hi, George. It's nice to meet you. I know we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, but it's glad to see you virtually. My name is Jake. I'm also one of, I guess, Dad Steve. I should call him Steve's sons. But yeah, I know it's been definitely a journey, kind of watching him write this book and really just immerse himself into all these fitness challenges and watch his way of thinking and living change when receiving this diagnosis. So it's been very special to be a part of that, and I'm glad to see what else he continues to achieve because of that.
One thing I admire about your father, Steve, is that he's always there. Just like I always say, I try to be there, but I've been honored to see him in DC, in Florida, and also in New York City. So first question, Steve, is how do you, despite the battle, how do you keep literally showing up and, battling Parkinson's, but also advocating, being a voice also for so many?
You know, Personally, the way I try to fight it myself is really through a couple of things. Really exercise being the one thing that can potentially impact the progression. I'm really heavy into exercise. I'm into wellness. I feel like wellness, if you do it right, can just tilt the playing field in your favor. And the advocacy has gotten very interesting, so where we bumped into each other a lot is advocating. And, I found that, I would still rather trade not having Parkinson's than having it. But the fact that I have it is kind of giving me a new purpose, which is to try to help as many people as I can, whether it's advocating in DC for more funding or just trying to get some different tips and tricks that people can get out there in the book that to just maybe improve their journey a little bit, to just talking to people and hearing their stories and trying to really just be a positive influence. So it's actually motivating for me to get out there. So it's so far it hasn't been hard because I feel like I get a lot out of it too.
I want to commend you and thank you because I don't have Parkinson's today. We don't know the future, but honestly, a regular person, even though I've had a lot of, my own health issues like back surgeries, to stand in DC, like literally, I think for 12 hours, sometimes in the almost snow. It just shows how much of a fighter you are. I mean, we stood together in Florida in the sun with Zach for about, it must have been 5 hours too. So these are not easy things. So I want everyone out there to know that even though Steve's battling, I think he's a hero and definitely a mentor to many. And hope this show, even if we reach one person, will now get everyone out there off the couch and up, jumping around, walking and doing some type of sports. Also pick up his book. We're going to go over that in a moment. But one exciting part about the show today is I love Steve, but we have his family with us. So I want to spend a little time with them. Maybe one of you can just touch on, I know you're still young, but growing up, how has Parkinson, seeing your dad have to battle this, affected you, in your life? I know, again, somewhat new. My mother unfortunately battled it for 18 years. She hid it in a way from us for 14. I didn't even know about, I thought just the word Parkinson. I didn't even know it's a disease till the last 5 years of her life when she really started to struggle. But what's it been like for both of you? We could start if you want with Jake, seeing him, and obviously he's strong now, but we don't know everyone's journey so different. So it must kind of, I can't speak for you, but I know I'd be, not worried, but, wondrous a little. I don't know the right word. There's no right words for this topic.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, my dad has always been someone who's very physically fit, and he had a lot of goals in the world of fitness. And ever since, the Parkinson's diagnosis, it's kind of been amplified, and I think he's taken that and really like ran with it in that world and just trying to be the healthiest version of himself. I know he's done a lot of research on, what specific exercises and activities can really help, slow down the progression of the symptoms. So just kind of seeing the way that he's taken the diagnosis and he hasn't allowed it to, negatively define him has been really, meaningful to me. And, I know something that he emulates is like he understands that he has it and he doesn't want to ignore it. And I think taking that and like making it into like a beautiful thing is what he's done with it. And I feel like that's been pretty constant, like throughout the whole process of him being diagnosed and kind of adapting his lifestyle.
Thanks. How about you, Zach? Again, I'm honored that we got to talk and spend time, but one thing I love is literally family. I think without my family, I wouldn't be able to even do this show, but even through Steve's battles, to have so many incredible, loving people and your mother and Steve's wife by his side must mean the world too.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like, outside of Parkinson's that they've instilled in us all our lives is being there for family, showing up for family. So it's just something that I think all of us kids and our mom has tried to do. There's times where we'd rather be doing other things, but of course you show up no matter what. I got to go to DC with him, like, coming to Florida and meeting you that day, showing up to be there for him. We love to support him, and it's definitely something that they've kind of instilled in us throughout our whole lives. And now we have the opportunity to return the favor for him.
And do you ever worry in the future, about its progression? And then I'll get back to Steve because this is his show. But I have so many questions.
Yeah,
We've had 400, and now this is number one shows. I never had, family want to. I've had, caregiver, one person or two, but to see the so much support. We also sent our love to the other two children. Unfortunately, couldn't make it, but we're thinking of them. And it's just amazing. I think like I gotta adopt you all to come join me too, so I can have some support. Because unfortunately, sometimes it's tough because I see Steve and then I've seen, the other side of what my mother had to go through. And we're putting out a documentary at the beginning of next year about my mother's journey. But a lot of time I think that's why I still do this, to be honest. People ask me like, why you can't bring your mother back? I don't want anything, but I don't want to see Steve or your family have to go through what our family did. And at least you know now that you're not alone because we'll always be right by your side if you need anything.
it's true. Yeah, no matter what, we'd rather be able to fight with him than, have him or any of us not around at all. So we'll
Yeah.
always be grateful for that.
I love that, and I mean, they did an amazing. I can't speak for them, but I think they did a great job. I hope my kids. I don't know if I always say if I'm unfortunately not here, I hope they continue on together for Sharon. I don't know if they will, but I'd rather have a cure, and then we don't have to do any of this anymore. I want to take a moment, Steve. Maybe you could touch too on beautiful website livingparkinson.com where we can pick up a copy. I'm lucky I have one, but everyone can, learn a lot more about Steve's journey. Maybe you could touch a little bit about what else they can find at your website.
Sure. the one thing I would highlight is the way, there's a lot of different books on Parkinson's out there. A lot of them are medical books, a lot of them are memoirs. What I really tried to write is something that was almost like a how-to book, and that's really what got me going and got me convinced by my friends, because I kind of broke it down into like a very methodical way that I approach Parkinson's, and it kind of fell into 7 strategies. So what I did is I wrote the book based on these 7 strategies. Again, it's not medical. It just talks about a little bit of what I learned along the way, what I experienced along the way, and you can see the 7 highlighted there: attitude, knowledge, support, fight, wellness, advocacy, and research. And it's just ways that a person can maybe on their own take charge of their own journey a little bit more. And again, it's written in a way that it doesn't say do X, do Y. It just directionally maybe points you in a direction, or maybe gives you a certain suggestion on what you could do. And again, it's meant to be, if you're just diagnosed, it probably would be really good. But even if you had Parkinson's for 5 or 10 years, I've had people tell me, there's a couple of things I learned here and there. Like, one of the things I suggest is drinking water whenever you drink out of a stainless steel or glass cup versus plastic. Because, we don't know right now. I just saw an article this week about microplastics and its impact on Parkinson's. So, I don't know if the article, they're just making some suppositions, but on the other hand, it can't hurt to drink out of glass or stainless steel, because it's going to be, you're going to avoid the plastic. So little suggestions like that, little things. But I just got motivated to write this and now to try to get the message out there, because what I've seen from a lot of people is when I talk about what I call the Living Parkinson's framework of 7 strategies, or talk about the book, a lot of people just say, I really took a lot away from it. I got a lot out of it. And honestly, that's kind of turned into a little bit of my new, mission in life, which is to try to just get the word out of this to as many people as possible. And one of the things I talk about a little bit in the book, and you mentioned about the family, is hopefully what I may be showing Jake and Zach and my other kids is, look, I try to tell them that there's not much in life you can't overcome. That the worst, first of all, the only thing you should really get stressed out over is when a doctor calls you up with some bad news. Whatever happens to you with a job or something else, you'll make it through that. Don't let it overly stress you out. But even something like Parkinson's, you know, I don't know what the future holds, but at least to this point, I feel like I've stayed ahead of it. I just kind of always try to teach them, if there's something you really need to do or want, never be outworked. And I look at that as, I'm never going to let Parkinson's outwork me. So as long as I can do it, I'm going to keep doing it.
I appreciate it. Can you tell everybody where this picture was taken and what event it was?
That was actually a triathlon here in Connecticut. It was a picture I loved and wanted to put on the cover because my head is down. It kind of shows a little bit of determination, and also it's not about me, the book. It's really just about determination. And I kind of felt like that picture reflected it, because again, I didn't want to show a picture of me jumping over this or jumping over that, because it's not about what I do or how much I can do. It's really about just whatever you do today, try to just push yourself a little bit harder with it. So maybe you can just achieve a little bit more, feel good about it, and that's going to just make you more positive about your journey.
I love it. I can't ride a bike. I ride a trike, but it's not very safe. So we'll get into that because, as you might know, unfortunately, one of my close friends, Steve Squires, was hit by a motorist when they were on their way to the World Parkinson Congress. So there's a whole crew of bikes and trikes, and they actually ran him over, and he went ended up in the hospital. So if anyone's out there, it's send our love to Steve, of course, but. I don't think I could do a triathlon, so even without Parkinson, that's why again you're a hero to me and so many. So
Well, I'll tell you, just to add one thing,
please,
I look at it, what you do is what makes you a hero. Again, it's just how hard you work. If walking one lap around the track is a stretch for you when you do it, then you're as much of a hero as the person that does a marathon that I can never do. So it's not about how much you can do. It's just about setting that goal, hitting it, achieving that goal to try to do more.
I'm going to send the show back to the Suns since they're with us, but maybe Jake, and this question's easy, but who's your hero and inspiration? That's too easy.
Don't get it wrong.
I'm gonna say my dad and my mom for varying reasons, but they've both inspired me and shaped who I am today, and I'm very grateful for them.
And Zach, you're young, so this will be a funny one, but what would you ask your younger self or tell your younger self about, your father's journey, maybe what you've learned now since you actually go to events before you ever did that maybe 5 years ago? I mean, I don't want to put you back in like diapers.
Yeah, honestly, he his whole life, he even before the Parkinson's, he's just always preached that the idea of finishing strong, never being outworked. So there's not to like cop out of an answer here, but he's been already doing all these things and saying all these things. And so there's really not much that I feel like has changed about him from the Parkinson's, and more just like brought it out of him and gave him this opportunity to then kind of practice what he's preached, which is the just the idea of truly like never being outworked. Don't and just yeah, anything like that really.
For both of you, is there a favorite, sport you like to do with your father? Just, I know sometimes he might like being alone doing them. I know when I go to my gym in my house, my son comes in, I kind of love it, but then there goes any peace and quiet. So, he's still like only 9. But anyway, I was wondering if Jake, is there a certain sport or just a time you like just the one-on-one with your dad is your favorite?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, we both did the Empire State Building climb, which is when
Oh,
you go
that's
up the stairs at the Empire State Building. And like, I'm an athletic person, but sports
fun.
aren't quite my forte. But stair stepper is like that is my bread and butter. So I enjoyed doing that with him to share that like fitness experience with him. We didn't quite stay together the whole time. I might have pulled ahead a little
Okay.
bit, but regardless, it was a bonding experience for sure.
And Zach, will you be at World Parkinson Congress or what's your next event with your father?
I'm not sure exactly. I know he's coming to the Boston area where I live now for some events in the next couple months. Honestly, he shows me his calendar and he shows me his marketing plan, and I can't keep track of where he's going and what he's doing. But I know that there's a few in this area, so I'm definitely going to do my best to make it some of those, and then potentially another Spartan race, which we try to do every now and then together, maybe in Massachusetts. So a couple things on the docket in the near future.
I love that. And Steve, this is it's kind of an easy question, but maybe you could use some innovation. But if you could have one wish granted, what would it be?
Wow, that's so hard. I mean, look, I guess it's very easy to say I wish I didn't have Parkinson's. You know, it's really hard for me to say that. That's probably the easy answer. I guess if I could have one wish, I would just wish that my whole family just stays healthy. And that down the road, all I'm really looking for, I always say from the community is I've told my doctors I'll keep this exercise up for another 8 years till I'm 70. Then if they could come up with just a way of stopping the progression, that would do it for me because I'm happy where I am right now. Like, I do have Parkinson's, I have some symptoms, but I don't feel like it impacts my life. So if they could just halt the progression, I'll start small. I won't say come up with a cure, come or have me not have it. Just come up with some way to stop the progression over the next 5 years to be a little bit more, realistic. I do want to add that Jake mentioned about how he did the Empire State Building stairs quicker than me. I was doing the stairs and I was basically feel like I was gonna have a heart attack. I was breathing so hard. He did it. He was texting his brothers and sisters while he was climbing the stairs. So
Technology.
easier for him than me.
I appreciate it, and I love the competition, but the friendly, the loving one. Well, just so much still to talk about. I mean, this one's a fun one, Steve, for you. If you were asked to write a script to a movie, which you might about your book, but about your life story, what would you name it, and what actor would play your role?
I always kid around with Zack and the kids about saying finish strong. So, because I always feel like, when I do these races, I'm not that good, and I'm not a good athlete by any means, and I never have good times, even before Parkinson's. But I've always felt like it's what's in your heart that matters, how hard you work. So, finishing strong, I'd probably call the name of the book. And this one, I've joked around with them before, and they're not going to like this. But
Oh
I'd probably
no.
say I'd probably want Chris Helmsworth to play me in the
Oh,
movie.
no. You have a little bit extra muscle.
Yeah,
Is that
he'd have to probably lose a little bit of weight first, or lose the muscle
nice?
first. But that would be if I could ever have that, that would be my goal, I guess.
And while Jake, while you're running or walking or texting up the steps, and Zach, while you're traveling to all these events, and also Steve, while you're participating in all these events, is there a theme song that you're all thinking? It could be different or maybe the same that kind of drives you to also never give up.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, let me ponder that for like 10 seconds.
No
Maybe
problem.
I will survive.
I like. What about you, Steve,
We
on
just,
those
yeah,
long?
whatever he plays for us in the car, we usually just listen
You
to.
have no
So he
choice.
usually gets control over that. So whatever he
And I,
plays, we listen to.
My mother tortured me with Barry Manilow. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm Barry Manilow, Kenny G, and Michael Bolton. And now
Mm,
today I blast them all for my kids, and they can't. And now I love them all. So,
mhm.
You know,
never knew.
I'd probably say it would be something from probably a very hard rock or heavy metal group. I'd probably say something
Nice.
like that. But I can't think of a song off the top of my head that would really symbolize it. There's songs I like to work out to and like to run to, but nothing that I could say like, the words really inspire me in that way.
Well, as we wrap up today, we say after the lights, camera, and paparazzi leave, the show does not end because we still have a conversation to have. And I hope everyone will support Steve, his family. I can't wait to see them again soon. But before we wrap up, I was wondering, what's next for all of you if you want to go kind of around the room, where will we see you? Is there anything you're in your life, out of Parkinson too, that you're working on that you love to share? And again, we want to thank the whole family, including your sister, brother, and your wife, of course. Behind the scenes, the magic continues, and if it wasn't for all of them, I don't know if Steve would be as positive, and I love him because he's so positive.
I'd say I know that my other kids would have loved to be on the call, but again, one is sick and one had a conflict. They're in the basketball playoffs of the league, so I have to respect that. For me, I'll be at World
They did
Parkinson's.
win.
They did.
Yeah, yeah, she did
Okay,
say that.
I'll be at World Parkinson's Congress. I will have my book at the Book Nook, and I'll have a meet the author session on Wednesday at noon at the
Nice.
Congress. So I'll be there, and then probably the next big event is there's a triathlon that I'm probably going to try to do with my daughter in June, and then I'm hoping I can get Zack to do a Spartan race at the end of June up in Massachusetts. So
Yeah,
those are my
yeah.
next couple of things I'm trying to work on.
I've had some bad luck. Every time I do a Spartan race with him, it's either like pouring rain or cold. And then every time that I'm not there, it's like 70 and sunny and it's perfect. So we'll see. If I end up joining, I'm sure it'll be a terrible day. And then if I don't, it's probably going to have the perfect weather. So
I
we'll
have to
see.
tell you, you both for good luck because that actual event we were at, the Parkinson's Foundation, 2 years prior, the tornado literally came and wiped the event out. So, and we were standing there,
God.
and we don't get many tornadoes in South Florida, but that day was, a beautiful one. So maybe you brought us the good luck.
That's true. That could be the change that we needed.
And what
Although,
about you, Jay?
George, when we did a Spartan the next day. And of course, that was the only day we were down there that it was pouring, raining. It was pouring on us when we finished the Spartan. So
Those are the memories that live on. Those you might remember that more than if it was just a nice,
it's
quiet
true.
day.
That is
So,
true.
That's true. That is true.
I
I'm
know you
hoping I
say
can.
Spartan and triathlon. I'm ready to run the other way. I can't.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake? Any plans, school, or how's life?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of what you do is definitely really important to me. I'm a master's of social work student, so learning a lot about social justice and supporting like marginalized communities. So I love the work that you're doing and how you're, giving people like my father a voice, and like a platform to kind of share their story and like hopefully, I know your dad's been going to like the government events in DC with policy advocation, so it's all very close to my heart, which is great.
I appreciate it. We probably have a lot more in common that we don't have time. Actually, my dissertation and my PhD was on aiding African American mothers who lost their loved ones due to murder in Florida and West Palm Beach. So that was my life before
Wow.
Parkinson's. So now today, my life is Parkinson's, whether I have it or not. I mean, as Steve was talking, I wanted to mention, I think of him, of course, but then we think of all of you and your kids and our grandkids, and we don't want them to also have to battle this. And that's kind of the note that why we do these shows. But as we wrap up today, I just want to know, Steve, if you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Yeah, I guess what I would say is overall, I learned a lot writing the book. I interviewed a lot of experts. I interviewed a lot of people with Parkinson's. And the one thing when people ask me, what did I learn the most and what would I want to leave, is that I found that I was really surprised at how many people had gratitude for what they could control. So, I mean, what I'd probably say to anybody with Parkinson's out there is, as best as you can, and everybody's Parkinson's is different, everybody's wired different. We're all different. Some people have depression, which makes it much, much harder than my situation. But try to take as much control as you can and try to be as grateful as you can for what you can control. And hopefully that will impact even your journey, maybe make it a better journey. That's probably what I'd want to leave people with. And again, it's harder for some than others. I think it's been fairly easy for me just because I haven't had that aggressive a form of Parkinson's, but that's just what I've seen from most of the people I met.
I'm really grateful for the whole family today, for your time, for your friendship, and again, for all the work you do after, before, and in the future. Really means a lot to me. I want to thank all of you. I have a little message for all of you and everybody listening. We love you. We support you, care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with the entire family here, will advocate for you, and I feel together our voices are so much stronger. And as we wrap up, because we never end, I always say I'm just getting started, because although unfortunately, lost my best friend and mother, 6 years ago. It's crazy. Every show it's becoming longer. But and on those days where we're out there in the cold and I say I can't bring her back, I figure maybe it's time to stop advocating or close the page of the chapter. I've done almost everything I could dream of. But then all of a sudden, I meet this gentleman named Steve about a year ago, and well, now I realize that none of us can stop because we still have work to be done. And you can be sure we'll be fighting by you, Steve, your side, Steve, and also everybody listening. We love you, and I'm again grateful for the show and all of you out there listening. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Well, thank you too, everyone. Thanks again. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon St. George. Please stay tuned for a lot more shows because until there's a cure at everybody's doorsteps around the world, you can be sure we'll be fighting right by your side. Thanks, everyone.